one more. Must be lucky last.
I'll take that. Can you safely say that for sales lines come down now and we're going meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And we'll do it as big and badass as we can.
Gents, do either of you have any conflicts of interest that you need to declare or that you're dealing with?
I don't. Michael's a lot more engaged in the lithium space.
There's nothing on the hard rock space that I'm conflicted on.
So you're going to be working from the East Coast then? So everyone's sort of in their own little office and they're all just...
Yes.
I'll probably be in China pretty much full time, just getting those MOUs progressed, so that way we can get the rest of the certain package in place.
Is this like a full-time job for you? Or?
For dealing with the Chinese, it's pretty much full time because you're basically working through them, you're working through documentation, you're working through lawyers to basically structure everything up. I want to run everything concurrently. So I don't want to like get to the end of say drilling or the PFS and say, oh, okay, now that we've finished that, let's now start. It's like to do any of these sort of things, particularly to get a really good engagement, a really good agreement, you're looking at 3 to 6 months. It takes time. You go through the steps of an MOU, but then the real work is putting the documentation together and structuring it in a way that actually benefits shareholders. The beautiful thing we have is we've just got this perfect set of events where the market becomes massively short from July to September. So I'm hoping to have everything set up so when we do the final negotiations, hopefully that'll be an ideal time.
James, you're like full-time? Like
No, I'm the non-executive director, so I get, it's basically say part-time. I'm board of another public listed company. That one, chairman of it, probably takes me 2 to 3 days a week, probably 2 days a week, and a few other things too, but I'll get whatever time's needed for Berriman. But that's the role, it's a non-executive. It's really guiding and supporting the MD to do what's needed, the executive to do what's needed to take it forward.
Getting more people in place.
I personally think the company does need more executive support. Yeah, it's not criticism of Kevin, it's, I think we want this company to move forward, and one of the things I think it does need, it needs someone to look more investor relations and dealing with shareholders. And everyone's got their strengths, and Kevin doesn't. I'm not criticising Kevin. I just don't think that's something a strength of his. And I think so. If your managing director doesn't have a strength, you feel that. Yeah, we all want this to go forward, and you want to have the people to do it. Some of you guys have come a long way.
Yeah, you can ask us more questions about the market, about, I don't know, anything really.
Who's going to win the 4th test in India on Saturday?
Yeah, can you tell us?
I think India in the box seat are looking pretty good. But, what David Warner says he's going to actually get a score this one. So, and it's supposed to be a totally different pitch. But,
I'm just thinking maybe if you wanted to sort of just brush over again what it was you said previously that has been recorded, just so that the other shareholders that aren't here are privy to that, that 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
but
Maybe.
Key points, Mark.
Okay, so if we do a quick lithium market update, why do I like BGS? Why do I like hard rock? So I'll start with why do I like hard rock? I like hard rock because to put in a hard rock mine for the same capacity of lithium carbonate or lithium ultimate lithium carbonate production, the hard rock capex is 1/5 of what it is for brine. So if I want to put in 10,000 tons of lithium carbonate brine production, it's going to cost me about $120 to $130 million. For $120 to $130 million, I'm putting in 40 to 50,000 tons of hard rock lithium carbonate producing capacity. It's a completely different value proposition. So if we believe, and I fundamentally do, that the market is short in China, and if we believe that all these factories are going to begin or start as they've proposed or as they've said to us, because they've been building these factories for the last 2 years, then the only new production that can actually meet that is really hard rock. And then even within that, the sheer amount of capacity coming online is far in excess of any amount of supply that can come online. And I was saying this to some shareholders earlier. Last year, 280% of increased battery capacity was put in. Battery production only increased about 86, 88% last year. So there is a huge underutilization that's already forming between what's going in and what's actually being produced, let alone what's actually going to be produced. And as I described earlier, the Chinese are very methodical in their approach to putting in infrastructure or to producing battery making facilities. So the core focus when they start building a battery plant is just to build the battery plant. Once they build the battery plant, the next focus is getting the people to actually sit in these battery plants, because getting skilled labor to run inside a fully automated robotic facility is a little bit more than just getting people off a farm to come and sit down and basically operate. So it's actually it's a higher level of skill that you require. And these battery plants require large numbers of people. You have people like McNair that run a 10 gigawatt hour operation with 3,000 staff, through to CATL that has 30,000 staff. So these are not small operations, these are massive investments. But once they have the people, that's the point in time that they actually start thinking about supply. Because traditionally, the sector was supplied by Sichuan Tianqi Lithium and Ganfeng. So the Chinese battery makers and chemical makers didn't need to look any broader than their own providers of supply. And then in 2015, 2016, really driven by the production of buses, created a massive shortage in the actual availability of lithium for the production of batteries. Because each bus consumes around about 6 times as much lithium as a car. So this was an unexpected event. So prior to 2015, there had been 47,000 electric buses built. In 2015, there was like 100,000 built. So it's like, it was just an order of magnitude beyond what anyone expected. It caught the whole supply chain out. It also meant that Ganfeng Sichuan Tianqi Lithium took a very opportunistic approach to the market to move everyone to spot pricing, just like what BHP and Rio Tinto and Vale did in iron ore in 2009, where they moved the whole market to spot pricing because they were like, right, let's just gouge this. That meant that the battery sector scrambled. So the battery sector all of a sudden said, holy cow, we can't rely on these suppliers anymore, because even though lithium is only 3% of a battery, and a battery is only 15% of an overall electric vehicle's cost, that little bit of lithium is material when your average order size from a BMW or a large car manufacturer is over $1 billion. So you really, really care about every single input price. And as a battery manufacturer and in a sector that's massively competitive and scaling up, every cent matters. I used to say to people, oh, lithium price doesn't matter because in a phone it's only like 50 cents. So if the price of lithium goes up 10 times and your phone costs $5 more, you don't care. But as a battery manufacturer, you've just spent $5 billion, or as First Battery spending $5.8 billion, you care because you want your factory supplying people batteries. You want to be competitive in the way that you price. So the sector is ripe to basically absorb as much lithium as can possibly be produced. The demand is there, and hard rock is best placed to meet that within the short term, because hard rock is the only material that can actually be produced and brought to market in a short period of time without all the risks associated with, say, brine. So we just had Energy, who spent over $300 million, walk away from the Rincon because the test facility they built in Sydney with the Australian Science Institute of something, when they put it up at altitude, it didn't work. Whereas hard rock I see as much lower risk because it's just like copper mining. The process is well understood. The flow, the way that you extract the material, the way that you mine it, it's all very, very straightforward. It's something we've been doing for a very, very long time. Brendan can comment on this better than me. So I like hard rock from its lower risk, it's easier to bring to market, it's lower capex, and it's exactly what China wants. So China historically has used hard rock mining because FMC, ALB, and SQM screwed over the Chinese sector, and they were unreliable suppliers. They predominantly supply the Koreans and the Japanese, And as a result of that, the Chinese decided that they needed to build their own independent source of supply security, and that's why they did hard rock processing. China is the only place on the planet that does hard rock processing. So for our future for this company is intimately entwined with China, not any other country. So for us, it's about having the best quality relationships in China to realize the maximum value of this asset. Is that enough?
In terms of China, I think are they not geared up predominantly, something like 80% spodumene?
About 60 to 80%, yeah, within that range.
So even if the brine does manage to come along down track, they're still more geared towards the spod?
Yeah, look, the biggest issue there's three big issues for brine. The first big issue is the potash price. Now, at some point, the lithium price will be high enough, and I think that's probably about $35,000 a ton for lithium carbonate, that lithium will become the primary product for FMC, ALD, and SQM. So at the moment, lithium is 8% through to about 14% of their product derived from brine. So at the moment, it's a byproduct. It's not the primary product. And the issue they have is, in 2008, the price of potash was about $800 a ton. Today, it's about $220 a ton. So as they try and scale up, their biggest issue is their primary product is basically being driven into the floor, which is reducing the economics of their overall operation. This is the biggest constraint that brine has. The other constraint they have is rainfall patterns have changed. So for the first time ever last year, in 200 years, it started raining in a lot of these regions. We've just seen all the rainfall come through Chile, so one of ALB's operations is being hit there, and that's a risk. Whereas with hard rock, we don't have the weather risk unless it's a big flood and your hole fills up. But let's ignore that one. So the other issue they have is those countries like Chile are quite flexible with their regulatory arrangements, and they've just brought in a range of new taxes on ALB. So ALB now pays a 40% tax for all lithium carbonate production above 10,000 tonnes. Argentina is better, but there's still issues locally with, say, value adding or high grading product. And Orocobre, which I think has done an absolutely incredible job getting their project up and running, just shows the difficulty in actually getting a brine project to actual production.
Can we just go back to risk, if you don't mind?
Please.
You're on about fast tracking, and we'll appreciate that. But if we're going down this path with a DFS, hold them up to CBU in Queensland, so it might be a bit difficult.
So when I say a PFS or a DFS is not needed, it's not needed in terms of a potential mining contractor. So if we had a China Minmetals, Shangdun, any of these sort of Chinese mining operators that currently operate and manage mines in Africa, they can actually fast work or fast track a scoping study to actually best work out not only how to attack the resource, but also to start doing the earthworks and start getting the mine under construction. From a market perspective, from an institutions, fund managers, shareholders, financiers, those pieces, that documentation is very important. So I guess what I'm trying to say is when we want to fast track this, we'll work out what the sensible, methodical, structured, professional steps are to basically move this forward as quickly as we can. And wherever we can do that with the least amount of risk, we will.
Thank you.
Questions? We have tea and coffee down the back, so we can chat informally over tea and coffee, or we can any more questions to the group. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. It's fantastic. The passion of the shareholders is I've never seen it before, and a lot of people in the room have done a wonderful job getting to where we are today. You guys know who you are, but you should be very proud of the work you've done. Well done.
I reiterate that.
And Curtis, your mum said she's proud of you.
I got a kiss.
Thanks for coming. Let's have a cup of tea. Thank you.